Hi guys, and welcome to another rambling of the week. What I wanted to do in this video is once again talk a little bit about a few things that we saw on MWC, also recap a few things that I did already talk about in my recap of the MWC, because I just want to set a few things a little more straight than I did, because I was mostly a little bit on the more negative side when I talked about something like the G5, which I still am in one way, but I just want to tell you why I think it is like it is. But I also want to talk about a few other things, so let's just start with that. One thing, actually, first, what I wanted to do in this video, actually what was planned for today, was to make the first rambling plus unboxing, or including an unboxing, because I was expecting to get the Honor 5X along with the Band Z1. But it didn't happen. Why? Because yesterday the delivery man came like 1 hour after I had to leave for work, so I didn't get it. It should have arrived today at, I think, 11 AM. Yeah, it didn't. So I have to wait for Monday. So sadly this didn't work out, but other than that we still have a lot of other things to talk about, like MWC. First of all, what did we see? Apart from the phones that I already talked about, just real quick, what did we see? Not really that much interesting. Lenovo presented more of their iterative improvements, like the newer lines, like the Y710, 500, 310, like all those, a few more smaller Windows, Android tablets and all that. So nothing too exciting. It's really just smaller improvements with newer generation of SoCs. So not really that much compelling. Other brands did the same, and here is one thing to talk about that I didn't talk about in the last one, but was asked about what I think of it, and that would be the HP Elite X3. There's a reason why I didn't talk about it, because the one reason why I think this device won't have any impact whatsoever on the market or on anything is it's really heavily focused, or pretty much only focused towards the business market. What is it actually? It's a 6-inch Quad HD device, Snapdragon 820, great camera, great build, huge battery, like over 4000 milliamp hours, like 4300 I think or so. But why won't it be a success? First of all, HP won't even sell it mainstream. I think it's really for corporate business and all that. You at some point will be able to get it somewhere, I think, but that's it. And the biggest issue here, in my opinion, is it's running Windows 10. For mobile. Is that a real issue? I think so, because Windows 10 for right now isn't really even reliable enough from what I see from normal people, because I see even a lot of fanboys, and I expected way more backlash when I did my Windows 10 review or opinion video on the Lumia 950, but actually I got like 2 dislikes so far. But all the people, even people claiming themselves to be Windows fanboys, agreed, and they said to me, yes, the hardware isn't good, which right now is not of concern about the HP Elite, but they told me the software just isn't good. Some told me you just have to get to the latest preview, but I agree kind of with what some gadget guy does, which is now working for Pocket now. He says he will stay on the latest official one, because a consumer, mainstream consumer, shouldn't rely or shouldn't need to switch to the preview or the fast ring to get an actual good system. It should already work like that out of the box, which it doesn't. So of course it could be a great device even with Windows 10, but who will ever know? Because I'm not quite so sure how many people will. Maybe the reviews will be good, but if no one gets it in their actual hands, this is something to talk about. That's okay. The next thing would be a recap of once again about the big three: the Samsung Galaxy S7, the Xperia XP, Xperia X Performance, I will just call it XP, and the LG G5. Let's start with the G5. Why I don't think it's that great of a phone. I already talked about that. I think they skimped a little bit on things like not making the greatest display, not maybe something spectacular new in terms of speakers, because it's pretty much the same. I also don't like the button placement. What I also just recently found out that the power button on the back, which is a fingerprint, really is an actual button, so you will have to press it, which is super I don't want to say it, but I have to, since it's my rambling and I don't cut out anything, I don't filter anything, but that's stupid, it's bullshit. Because maybe it works different than I think, but they said you have to press it and then it will unlock with the finger. But on every other device, it's optional, the back. You always have a power button. On the S6 or on any Samsung device, you still have the power button. On the A9 you had that, on the Nexus phones you still have that optional. But if you tap, just tap and don't push on the fingerprint reader, it still wakes the device. If that's not the case for the G5, and if it is, then I take everything back and I'm the stupid one. But if you really have to press this thing on the back first and then have to read, then I think it's a failure. You should just tap, because everything with a press will make it even more so inconvenient. And I don't think that's good. But the other thing are the modules, because someone in my comments told me that I don't get the idea of the modules. Because if someone, for example, I think that was his example, goes on a vacation, he can switch out the module and then, because he will make a lot of pictures, has the great functionality of the camera. If someone wants to go make something more sporty, wants a better sound, then he can use the DAC and has the better sound. All so far so good. But what I think so far is, if, because he said no one is planning on switching it all the time, but also just on purpose. And the thing is, when I would go on a vacation, if I know I will make a lot of shots, then I would take something a little bit bigger, like a proper camera, and then shoot the pictures with it. Because you won't, I don't think it's convenient. You won't, if you say I'm going on a trip, I will make a lot of shots. Why not just use a camera instead of this still, even then, also more bulky phone? Because there are a lot of pocketable cameras that make better shots than a proper smartphone camera, even though they are great, and they are not that much bigger. So I don't see that point. And for sport, I still think they should have just put in a higher quality DAC inside already, so you wouldn't have that, but they needed to have something differentiating. And that's why there's, I think, a standard DAC inside, and beside, except for example, unless it was on the V10 that had a higher quality DAC. So if we would have had that, that wouldn't be the case. But I don't think it's convenient, because why not just put in something proper, and they will charge you extra for the better DAC. I think it's not so great. Now let's cover that. The Sony Xperia XP. What do I think of it? Once again, because I had some false information when I saw it. I saw a few early hands-on videos and they just were wrong. I got told on these it's not waterproof, which it just seems to be unofficially be, so not officially. There seems to be a fingerprint reader, which I didn't say that it hadn't. Only the X doesn't, but the XP should have, and maybe even the X has. What else? My complaint still stands true. 2700 milliamp hours, even though some say it's now 5.0 inches and smaller battery, then it's working out. But I still think the device is already a little bit thicker, which is the reason, because the device is smaller and therefore has less area for the battery. I get that, but I still think 2700 for 5 inch isn't good enough, because we've seen this on so many 5 inches with this battery size that it just is about good enough. And from especially Sony, who was known for their great battery life, expected way more. Now the S7, not really have to talk too much about that, because display great, sound will be good, the camera seems to be class leading once again, seems nice in terms of design, great SoC, the UI is always something that you have to decide. I personally like it, and from what I see from the new one, it looks even better. So that would actually absolutely be my first choice. But I actually, since I made the last video, something changed, because Xiaomi presented their Xiaomi Mi5 Pro, because I'm actually more interested in the Pro for a few reasons. First of all, what is the Mi5? The regular one. I'm not sure if it's a 16 or 32 gigabytes as the low end model with 3 gigabytes and all that. 5.15 inch 1080p IPS display, 3000 milliamp hours of battery. There is a 64 gigabyte version. But why am I interested in the Pro? The Pro, first of all, has 4 gigabytes of RAM, which is a nice bonus. I wouldn't need that, but it's a nice bonus. It has 120 gigs of storage. Since there is no SD card, this is a really great option, but I would have been already good with 64. And it has the ceramic back, which I'm very interested to see. But just because of 128, 4 gigs of RAM and the ceramic back, and not that much of a higher additional price, that's why I'm interested in that. I will definitely try to get that when I did already contact the shop, because also thanks to everyone on G Plus that did give me the shops that I asked for to see the price. But I actually found a German import shop that is, in terms of price, the best one, and offers something that is a little bit quite okay, because I will have to import it, and then you have to pay the taxes through the customs, which is 19% here, but they offer something like a tax protection, because if it won't get through the customs, you don't have to pay that tax, but chances are highly likely, and what you can do is give you a protection. You pay 10% of the price, and therefore if it goes through customs, they will pay the 19%. So you still save 9%, and all in all it would cost me around 500 euros for the Pro version, if at least for the current standard right now. I still would have wished to pay a little bit less, and I did ask them if I could maybe get a little bit of a rebate if I announced their shop in the review and all that, but they weren't interested. After that, they told me that they will keep my ticket warm, but I'm not really relying on that. I will contact them once again just to see how the chances are, but other than that, because the issue is the Galaxy S7 just with 32 gigabytes, but therefore SD card support costs around 700 here. But in Germany, it tends, especially all the S devices, to drop really quickly in terms of price. So I expect in 3 or 4 months, which is quite a long time in the tech business, it will drop to something like 500, closer to that, because the S6 did the same every year already. So I don't see the issue here. I'm fine with that, and I actually noticed that my hands up front here seem super huge. That's something that is that's a kind of perspective thing, but that's the one thing. So if I would have the choice, I think still go for the S7, but in terms of price, the Mi 5 Pro makes a lot more sense. I would have wished for something like the always on feature, because this sounds really compelling. It really is something that I want to see. Something else that I want to talk about is, because I've talked about that, there was, and I will link to that, an article from Pocket Now that says LG obviously thinks the G5 is better than the Galaxy S7, but we'd rather wait and see. And here is something really odd that LG made. They made a comparison with the G5 against the S7, and I will put this picture up, because just let's check those stats here. And I think they are ridiculous, why they think they would be better. Now, let's check it. Feature, modular design. Check for the G5, not for the S7. Yeah, great. If the modularity is such of a big advantage, we will see. Removable battery. Check for the G5, not so for the S7. Personally, I rather have the bigger non-replaceable battery, but that's personal preference. It's okay, but I don't see this as the huge advantage after all. Then, 16 megapixel rear camera. G5 has it, and the S7 not. So that's a stupid comparison. If you at least say the better camera and then make a check mark. But 60 megapixels, we all know pixels don't say anything. Last year we could say the S6 has one, or the S7 could say 12 megapixel camera. No, the G5 doesn't have 12 megapixel. They have a 16 gigabyte. So it was also, it wouldn't say it's better, but it would say an X instead of a check mark. So that's a little bit lame. That's just to get the check mark. The next thing, always on, have both, but I think Samsung definitely has the way more superior one. The next thing, 5.3-inch display. How's that an advantage? We have 5.1 on the Samsung, 5.3 on the LG. Just because it's bigger, it's better. Why not then compare it with the S7 Edge? That one has a bigger one already. So that doesn't count also, because if someone maybe wants something more compact, then for him would 5.1 not be the better solution with the check mark. So also quite a lame statement. Next thing, daylight mode. Yeah. Doesn't work for me also, because the LG phones tend to overheat really quickly in terms of display, and then they dim. Something we haven't seen on the S devices from the Galaxy line. They also have super bright displays, so also though lame. The next one, IP68 water and dust resistance. Here is some. Actually, this is the only one where LG says we have a cross, and S7 has it. At least they acknowledge that. Micro SD card slot have both. Yeah, that's it. I told you what I think so far. That's the lame thing. So to end this video, one question I have to you, and this is also a little bit of a shout out to Frugal Tech, because he just released a video yesterday, and not quite sure what the video was named, but what he was talking about, and I will link that, check that video. Also check his channel, he makes really nice analysis and analyzing of tech and so on, really makes nice vlogs and all that. Great channel, I like it. It's definitely something unique that you don't see everywhere. He's definitely more mature, a little bit of an older guy that has the experience, the knowledge, and I really liked it because he knows to show it off. It's good. So his video was about, he made a review once, or a comparison between the MacBook Pro 15 and an Asus laptop. I don't even remember that video for some reason. Maybe I think of something different, but that could actually be the one. And he says a lot of commenters actually said, don't mind his review, it's not worth anything because he didn't have the device actually in his hands. And then he was talking about that if you have the experience and if you watch a lot of different other reviews, you could make your own opinion and share that with other people and just make a review without actually having the device on hand. And he was asking if that was okay. Some people said you can't buy a car without a test drive, or some people said you don't have to be a sports or an athlete to talk about sports and all that. So I think it was like 50-50. Some said you definitely need the device and some said it's fine what he's planning. You don't need it if you check on other reviews and all that. Here is my take on that. A lot of times before I knew I would get a device, or when I was waiting for it, just like 1-2 days ago, when I know it's already shipping, I already made up so many times at the beginning at least, the whole review up in my head. I said, oh, the display will be that, the build quality will be that, the performance will be this and that, all had in my mind. Once I unboxed the device, half an hour later, like half of my opinion was already completely changed, because in reality things are so often just completely different, because a device can look so great. Just for example, the Z5 that I had, it looked great on paper, on pics, and once I held it in my hand, the first moment that I just had it, I noticed the edge, I didn't like it, and I talked about that. If I wouldn't have a hands-on experience, I would never know about that, because no other review did talk about it. And that's something you always have to consider. I get it, he talked about that some people make on PC part pick up a complete PC, talk about that. It's also theory, but they make good videos and they don't get the blame for it, and he would like to do something on his own. And for a PC, I get it, because you definitely know if you have a GTX 970, if you have this and this CPU, you pretty much can tell plus minus 5% how well it will perform. And that's legit, because you can really see the quality of the things. But if you have something like a laptop, a phone, whatever else that you just need hands-on experience, like on a tablet, because this tablet, for example, that I'm reviewing right now, the Dell Venue 10 Pro, on paper it looks great, and I'm not saying it's bad, but I definitely had a different first experience before I had it in my hand, because I did not expect for it to be that heavy. Because on paper you hear, yeah, 680 grams, it's a little bit much, but if you actually hold it in comparison, for example, to an iPad, it's a big difference, and this makes a big impact on my overall verdict. And not everyone talks about that, because so many times I've seen reviews, and that's why I actually try one thing. If I know I will get a review device, or if I'm planning on getting my review device, I try to avoid all other reviews, because I don't want to obstruct my opinion on it. I don't want to know what they think, because in the back of my mind I could always think, because so many times I'm actually quite good to not being perceptive to that, because so many times I've seen a review up beforehand, they said great display, all this and that and that, and then I had it in my hand and thought, that's supposed to be a great display, I think it's good, but it's definitely not great. And some people though would say, wow, it's really the best display in the head, having that. All the good reviewers say this as well. I personally really don't trust what others say so much unless I have the same opinion. And that's not to say that I know everything better, that my opinion is more worth it, but at least for me, and I make my reviews subjective enough and always tell that sometimes I just don't like things that others like. I've seen this so many times. Just for example, Notebook Check, they have really objective reviews with all those analytical tests, and they, for example, said the Huawei Mate 8 had a bad speaker. I personally found it to be absolutely fine, found it very loud. They said it would distort, I didn't have any distortion, mine sounded great, it wasn't the best sound, which I said, but I didn't really react on that, because I could have said yes, the sound isn't good, because they said it and they are really known to get all their facts straight, but no, I don't do this. And if someone like Frugal Tech now says that he is legit, if he watches a lot of reviews, makes his base on that, then uses his own experience, puts that together and says something, without ever having tried the device, it's hard because you can't always rely on everything that you read to be correct, at least if you have maybe a different standpoint. And if you are known, or for me, for example, I know a lot of times that something is completely different. I see people say great performance, great performance, great performance, and I don't think so. And that's why when someone says the device has great performance, I'm a little bit cautious. I'm waiting until I get it to tell you that. Because, for example, the LG G4, everyone was praising the great performance and I found it to be good. Everyone was praising the battery to be great. It was good. So, of course, I always could have a different opinion. But it's not like I say the battery life isn't good or it's just good. I say for me, it's good. And it was solid. And I'm not saying that, but I saw battery stats where I didn't even get close. So you really, I think in many cases, just in the mobile world, on tablets, especially also laptops, because you can't just from the words of someone else tell how good a keyboard or a trackpad is, or the display. I think the best example would be the Dell XPS 13. It's the most praised, best awarded laptop since 2015, since the first one was released, and now in 16 it gets all the awards. I personally think it's just about okay laptop, because I didn't like sorry, there was something like a dust thingy. Everyone praises, but I don't like the keyboard at all. It's just okay. The trackpad is nice, they improved that. Well, the display I didn't like at all for some reason, because the 1080p one was dull, it didn't look great. The 4K one was nice, but also not that special because it wasn't even 4K. Sorry, QHD plus. And this is why I say what I say. And I was a little bit off track because I checked the time. I'm still okay, but to get that back, I would really like to know your opinion. Do you think it's legit to make a review like he's planning it? I'm definitely not saying he shouldn't do it, or I'm discouraging him. I'm saying he's wrong. I don't want to do that, because I actually urge you to check out his channel because he makes great content. But I would be a little bit cautious to do that, because so many times I get asked, should I buy this device or should I buy that device? And if I only knew one of those two, I always say, sorry, I can't help you. I haven't ever tried, for example, this Asus device. I just can't recommend it. If it's, for example, a kind of different Samsung device, I at least have the experience, and I can tell you from what I know, their displays are always very good. Their software is this and this, their battery life, sound is this and that, camera is great. And then I say, sorry, I don't know this device, but from a gut feeling or from my experience, I would say this is maybe the better one, or this maybe is the better one. But keep in mind, I have never used it. In most cases, at least from a brand that I haven't used so far or really didn't review so much or so often, I say, no, I'm not gonna say anything. If I at least have tested the brand or similar device already, I say I tend to, or what I see on the specs, if I see a device has high-end class SoC and the one has a mid-range SoC, and I know these two SoCs, maybe not the device itself, I can tell you, okay, this device should perform better. So I would tend to get for this, but I would never make a review of this device just from seeing other devices, because it's just very hard. And I would really like to know what you think. Do you think it's possible to review a device without ever having used it? Okay, I think it's already different if you just go into the store and check it on your own, even play for it for a few minutes, because I make my first impressions very, very early. Yeah, of course, it's called first impressions, but I mean, I don't need a lot of time. I need like 1 or 2 minutes, or let's say 5 minutes. And my first opinion already is done. And in most cases, I am already that good after doing it for a longer period of time, or at least I think I am that good, that things are true. Because what I noticed so far, whenever I had the first opinion on a device, even using it after a week, this still was the case. Some smaller things, they get better, and that's why I don't want to judge it too early. That's why I did stop to make those first hands-on unboxings, because I noticed sometimes I was just too harsh or maybe too loose, and things just changed their opinion, or I changed my opinion. So that's it. 25 minutes, so I have to cut it short because this video can only be 29.59 minutes because of the camera limit. What is the last thing to talk about? And that would be, I've just noticed something, but it doesn't matter to you. The shout out of the week goes to techtablets.com. Check out his YouTube channel. Great guy, really makes a lot of reviews and videos about Chinese phones and tablets. Also maybe it's a few different, but that's pretty much mostly what he does. It also called Tech Tablets. Great guy, always answers all the questions. He's at around 20k subscribers right now. Definitely a great guy. If you are interested in these kind of devices, then definitely go check out his channel. Why am I calling him out? Yeah. Main reason for this today is because on the video he released today, it was the first time, at least that I know of, that I've seen him on camera. And I think it's really a big step you have to get over to actually show yourself in front of the camera. I know that from my own, because I think at least for the first half year or 3/4, maybe even a year, I'm not quite sure, I was never in front of the camera. Not always just because I was shy, because it was harder to do that, and sometimes, but now I think it's pretty much a part of me. When I do my reviews, I am a part of the review, getting my message done. I could just hide it behind it just because the camera. I could do that still, and I did that not that often, not that long ago. But I think it just adds a little bit more personality if I see the reviewer, because there are so many other reviews where I never seen the reviewer unless I maybe see him on the podcast and so on. It's just, I think it's more personal, and that's especially for me, who's doing this as a hobby, something that I want to get. I want the communication between the viewer and me to get closer, make great also discussions on maybe Google Plus or also on Twitter. And if you want to actually follow me on Twitter, then do this, and I will put it exactly here. But you can also check the Twitter handle. It's definitely not hard to remember. It's Nimbug, Nimbug. Yes, that's it. So shout out to him. Shout out also to Frugal Tech. Check his channel once again. And yeah, a little bit of update. What is going on today? I'm still reviewing this. I just got it yesterday. Dell Venue 10. Which version is it? I have. Oh yeah, it says it. Dell Venue 10 Pro, the 5056 with the Intel Atom Z 8500. So it's my first ones of the newer Atom devices. What else? Honor 5X review should come. I should get it Monday. Lost like 4 days because of the delivery. This is Band Z1. MSI actually did reply me, the guy from MSI, the press agency guy, so thanks to him, because he told me the guy from MSI who handles these things and gives out the devices is on vacation, which is definitely nice, because I did get my answer. I now know what's going on, so I should still get something like that. Thanks to Honor for sending me out the device. I at least think it's an Honor 5X I'm getting, because I didn't get any announcement. I just noticed I got a package. I didn't get it, so I'm not sure. It should be the Honor, because I don't expect anything else as far as I know. And if you want to, leave me a comment, leave me a question, do whatever you want. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I really hope you enjoy watching these videos as much as I do enjoy making them. And I have like 1 minute to say one thing. This is, I think, the first time that I redid a rambling, because right now here it's 7 p.m. I did record already my first rambling attempt at, I think it was 11 a.m. But I ditched that for a few reasons, because I had to be somewhere in 1 hour from then, and I was a little bit stressed. I didn't have my mind put up. I talked also for about 23 minutes. The video is gonna stop any second now. So I didn't do that. I just wasn't satisfied with the outcome this time. And man, it's nice to have actually a limit that I have to that I can look forward to, because I usually don't have this. And I will just talk about it and see if I can end it once again as the last time, where a commenter said I have a good timing. And it's not that hard, since I see the timing here and I know it will stop. Am I dragging this dust to get to the time? Maybe. But like I said, I like it. Bye.